Okay, picture this. You're at a New York diner, you just crushed a triple-decker sandwich, and when the bill comes, you tip 5%.
Nice.
That's it. You smile, leave a couple bucks, and walk out like it's normal. Now suddenly, the server's staring at you like you just insulted their grandmother.
Oh no!
Welcome to If You Could Only. Tip like a European in America, where we imagine what would happen if we dropped European tipping culture straight into the US. Spoiler alert, chaos, tears, and maybe even a national identity crisis. Let's dig in. America's obsession with tipping. First off, we need to understand just how deep tipping culture runs in the US. Tipping here isn't just polite, it's expected, it's ritual, it's practically sacred. You tip 15 to 20% at restaurants, $5 for your barista, $1 for the coat check guy, and even your Uber driver expects a few bucks after blasting Travis Scott for 12 minutes. But in Europe, watch any travel vlog in France or Germany. The moment Americans start tipping 20%, the locals panic like someone's just confessed to a crime. In most of Europe, tipping is minimal. 5 to 10% is considered generous, and in some places you don't tip at all. Why? Because workers actually earn a livable wage. In France, the service charge, about 15%, is already built into the menu prices. In the US, tipped workers earn as little as $2.13 per hour, relying entirely on tips to survive. So if you tried to tip like a European in America, you're basically torching the lifeline of millions of workers. The fallout at restaurants. Let's get into the heart of the action. Restaurants. You go out with friends in Miami. Total bill, $140. European. You leaves a cute little $5 tip and heads for the door. Meanwhile, your server? They're in the back calculating rent and crying into their shift apron.
What?
This isn't exaggeration. In the US, servers make most of their money from tips. Without them, their hourly wage is barely enough to cover gas money. And some states literally allow employers to pay less than minimum wage if tips are expected to make up the difference. So if everyone suddenly tipped like Europeans, 5% or even nothing at all, restaurants would collapse. Not because customers are rude, but because the entire system is built on unpaid labor being subsidized by tipping. And here's the worst part, diners wouldn't even see cheaper prices. Owners might not adjust menu costs at all. The staff just suffers silently. Remember Waiting, 2005. That entire movie becomes a horror show under European tipping. Damn! The domino effect on service workers. But let's say it's not just restaurants. Let's go full simulation. We make tipping European style across the board. Hairdressers, valets, delivery drivers, baristas, all of them now get 0 to 5% tips from every customer. What? The result? You're talking mass resignations, like Great Resignation 2.0, because these folks aren't living off passion. They're living off tips, and if we snatch that away without changing the wage structure, that $6 latte better come with a side of guilt.
What?
Stat check. In 2023, more than 5.5 million US workers relied on tips, and 70% of them were women, many supporting families. Imagine your DoorDash driver pulling up with your tacos and realizing they made $1.25 on that trip. They're not just mad, they're turning off the app for good. The reverse culture shock. Okay, now flip the scene. Let's say you, the American, visit Europe with your 20% tipping instinct locked and loaded. You tip your cab driver 10 euros. He looks confused. You overtip at a cafe. The waiter waves it off. You drop cash on the bar, and someone chases you down thinking you forgot your money. This is taken. But instead of Liam Neeson saving his daughter, he's apologizing for tipping too much in Paris. Because in much of Europe, tipping isn't about obligation. It's a gesture, a compliment, not a wage replacement. In Scandinavia, people tip rarely because prices already include full labor costs. In Japan, tipping can even be seen as rude, like you're pitying the worker. That kind of cultural difference would throw American service culture into a blender.
Please, no!
Why doesn't the US just pay workers better? Here's the question burning in your brain right now. Why don't we just do what Europe does and pay people properly? Great question. Short answer? Because the US has spent 100 years baking tipping into the economy. Tipping started post-slavery when employers found a way to avoid paying black workers full wages by making tips optional. It became standard, then protected by law. Even today, major restaurant lobbying groups fight any federal attempt to raise tipped wages. And consumers? They've bought into it. We're trained to think we control service quality with our tips, that we're the final boss in someone's workday. But the truth is, we're just filling in for the boss who refuses to pay a fair wage. The American psychology of tipping. Let's go deeper. Why are Americans so emotionally tied to tipping? Because it feels empowering. It's a moment of control in an otherwise chaotic world.
Wait for it. Here it comes.
You had a great server, you tip big. It feels like a reward. You had bad service, you leave coins. It's your revenge. Think back to Reservoir Dogs, that iconic diner scene where Mr. Pink refuses to tip. That wasn't just Tarantino being edgy, it sparked actual national debate. But in Europe, the employer is responsible for service quality, not you. Tips don't make you a king, they're just spare change. So if Americans were suddenly told, no tipping, just pay the bill and leave, you'd have people going through withdrawal. It would feel incomplete. The unexpected upside. But here's the plot twist. What if we did switch to European tipping culture and raised wages to match? Boom. Simpler receipts, no math stress, less awkward Venmo battles after brunch. And workers, they get predictable income, benefits, and dignity. Some US restaurants like Danny Meyer's Union Square Hospitality Group already banned tipping, raised menu prices, and paid fair wages.
Why?
The result? Lower turnover and happier staff. Imagine if that scaled nationwide. No more guessing games, no more guilt, just eat, pay, and vibe.
Nice.
The American identity crisis. But here's the real tea. If you told Americans they couldn't tip anymore, they'd lose their minds. Not just because of habits, but because it challenges the myth of meritocracy. That good service equals good money. That hustle equals reward. We'd have to accept that tipping isn't charity, it's wage replacement. This is Fight Club. But instead of rejecting consumerism, we're rejecting tipping culture. And instead of soap, we're handing out restaurant receipts with service charge included stamped on top. It would be uncomfortable, messy, maybe even unpopular, but maybe, just maybe, it'd be fairer. So,
Oh my God!
if you could only tip like a European in America, would you risk the social awkwardness, the server stink eye, the chaos of upending a century-old system? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you team tip or team included in the price? And if you liked this reality-bending, culture-flipping deep dive, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more weekly content, and share this with someone who still tips $1 on a $40 tab. Next week, we're diving into if Waffle House had Michelin stars. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.